I think the best way to do this is to go for a bit of a ride and answer these questions for you. First up, we've got Nick Contrast, who's an awesome Aussie moto vlogger. Go check him out. He asks, if you could choose any road to ride, all limitations aside, what would it be? So that's a pretty cool question. And if I had all my limitations aside, monetarily and bike size and all the rest of it, I would love to ride the Tail of the Dragon in the US. Love to go over there and ride those twists and turns. They look phenomenal. So that's probably what I'd choose. Failing that, within Australia, I'd absolutely love to go around Tasmania. That looks like a fun time. Riding Humboldt County. He asks, what other passions in life do you have besides from motorcycles? Well, Greg, that's a loaded question for someone like me because I have tons and tons of passions. Probably my biggest passion other than motorcycling is skateboarding. I've been skating since I was 6 years old and I feel more comfortable on a skateboard than I do walking down the street most days. So that's a massive passion of mine. I'm not particularly great at it, but it definitely brings me the similar kind of zen that motorcycling does, with some added frustration of not being able to land the tricks that I could in my youth. Something else I'm really passionate about is acting. It's probably a large reason why I began this channel. I really enjoy acting to the camera and exercising my creative ability with drama skills. Drama is something that has been in my world since I was a teenager. It allowed me to escape those little awkward, anxious moments, and sometimes that might seem counterintuitive, but I guess for a lot of people, getting on stage, you get to be someone cooler and completely different and someone that's not so anxious all the time. So yeah, acting is another massive passion of mine. Other than that, I love reading. Non-fiction is my forte, and I especially love reading about anything occult, anthropology, sociology. They're the kinds of stuff I love. I'm a big nerd for culture and society. Coffee or tea? He asks. I prefer coffee over tea, but I love both of them, to be honest. Star Wars or Star Trek? Neither, but if I had to pick, probably Star Wars, much to everyone else's chagrin. I really don't like sci-fi fantasy stuff at all. I've just got no tolerance for it, hey. Purple on 3. Jody asks how I met my wife. We were at opposite ends of the country and totally different universities, and it was a serendipitous kind of thing. There was a conference being held for universities in Western Australia, and I wasn't even supposed to be there. I got invited at the last minute, and I was 18 at the time and thought, you know what, I got nothing better to do, why not? Well, we spent the whole conference together, and I couldn't stop thinking about her. So, 17 years later, 8 of which we're being married, and I'm the luckiest man alive. Does my wife ride with me? She's ridden on the back before, but my bike's really too small for that, so she's kind of expressed an interest in learning how to ride herself, which is very exciting. Do we have children? Yes, we have one. He's 17. He's Jude's natal son and my stepson, and I'm really, really blessed to have him in my life. I'm so thankful. Does he ride? Nah. He's an indoorsy kid, totally not interested in any capacity, much to my disgust, but I've tried. What kind of work do I do? I'm a mental health peer worker, which means I get to use my experience of being in the world with a mental illness to help people who are not as far along on their recovery journey navigate the systems which are kind of scary and confusing and often really terrifying and fraught with therapists and medical professionals that hold positions of power. So I get to help them navigate those scary systems in a friendly manner. That's not to say that therapists and medical professionals aren't friendly, but sometimes when you're in the middle of a mental health crisis, they can be terrifying. So I'm the gentle dude that gets to sit with them and has the privilege of walking alongside people whilst they access the services that they need to get better. My favorite color is black, and my favorite meal is pizza. Thank you so much for the awesome questions, Jody. Mad Girl Moto Adventures, who is another awesome Aussie YouTuber, you should go and check Ebony out, asks, as a fellow rider overcoming head demons, have you experienced any moments of doubt in your motorcycling and YouTube journey where you think, man, I just can't do this? And how did you overcome those intrusive thoughts? Awesome question. Yes, 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 yes. Pretty much every time I go to make a video, I have those thoughts. But I will preface that with the fact that intrusive thoughts are part of my daily world. And so I'm at a constant battle to fight them off anyway, regardless of what I'm doing. How I've battled those? Well, a lot of hard work, to be honest. A lot of therapy and a lot of continual self-checking. But there's one massive technique that I use that I think really helps with this particular problem. And it can't just be done instantaneously. It is a process. It's a technique called distress tolerance. And basically it's just desensitization and exposure. But you do it really gently with yourself. And it's about putting yourself in situations where they feel uncomfortable and they definitely trigger your anxiety, but it's still safe for you to be there and it's not going to make you too unwell mentally. It's about doing that incrementally over and over and over again until, even though you might still have the physiological responses to anxiety, so you might get shaky, sweaty, nervous, all of that sort of stuff, you can still push past that and push through it without having a full-on panic attack and shutting down. Now, I can't pretend that that's easy at all. It's real hard, but if that's something that sounds good to you, I encourage you to link in with a mental health professional or maybe even do a bit of research about it beforehand, because it's something that's helped me tremendously. Alongside that, CBT, which stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, that is just a complete winner for anxiety in my books anyway. Therapy, regular therapy and constant checking myself, that's basically how it goes. It's not easy, but, life's not easy, I guess. Mad Girl Motor Adventures asks, what are some of your favorite experiences since joining the motorcycle and YouTube community? Well, geez, that's hard. I guess probably the crux is being a part of it. Being a part of such an awesome community that just readily accepted me. That's not something I've had a lot of experience with in my life. Got another question from Chewy here. He's been kind enough to give me a video, so I'll let him do the talking with this one.
G'day Wiz, how are you mate? My question is, what does this moto vlogging community mean to you mate? Because I know what it means to me.
Thanks so much Chewy for that question. It's really hard to articulate what this community means to me. I think I've touched on before the fact that I find it really difficult to make friends and maintain friendships because I'm an anxious dude and I need a lot of downtime. Social situations wear my battery out, something fierce, so I tend to limit them. Basically, what this community means to me is that I have a group of individuals who accept me and take me for where I am at, regardless of what's happening inside my head, regardless of what's happening in my own personal life. This motovlogger community is so encouraging and supportive and gentle and nurturing, and it's just an absolute privilege and honor to be considered even a small part of it. Uncle Kraken from Kraken's Garage and Adventures asks, who was my inspiration to try my hand at motorcycling? I guess one of my first inspirations was literally seeing Terminator 2 and that Harley Davidson Fat Boy. I just knew that one day I had to ride a cruiser. That was just it for me. A really impressionable time in my youth with motorcycling as well was watching at the back of my grandma's house. There was a massive paddock and all the local kids with dirt bikes used to just go back and forth in that paddock, and I'd sit there for hours just poring over them, wishing I could join them. So I've always been really keen on things with wheels, and there were two big inspirations to get into motorcycling, I guess. Good old Terminator, hey. The crux of that story is that my largest inspiration is my father. He allowed me to get my first motorcycle and spent a lot of time encouraging me to get better and better at it. So, yeah. Harley Throttle Juice asks, what's my favourite metal album and why? This one's hard, but my absolute favourite album is from a band called Dissection, who just quietly are my favourite band, and the album is Rain Chaos. I love this album. I think it's great from go to woe. I love the theme of it. I love the lyrics. I love that it delves into occult mythology. It's just a great album, and I'll listen to it again and again and again. Probably a hot second is Transylvanian Hunger from Dark Throne. 602 North asks, what does my wife think about me starting a YouTube channel? She loves it. She encourages it wholeheartedly. Absolutely 100%. My wife is my biggest fan in my whole life. She encourages me in absolutely everything that I do, so I'm really, really lucky. But a funny little aside from that question, 602 North, is that I ask my family not to watch my videos. Of course, they're free to do as they please, and it's a free country, but it makes me kind of nervous to think that my family would be watching my videos. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. So, yeah, that's an interesting little tidbit. It makes me kind of embarrassed for some bizarre reason. I'm not sure why. Thank you so much, everyone who asked these questions. I really appreciate it. I hope it gave you a bit of an insight into who I am as a person, sort of beyond these little moto vlogs. And you know what? The more I make, the more you'll get to know me. So I hope you'll stick around and find out some more about me. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. Until next time, I'll catch ya.